The last addition property we'll discuss is the associative property of addition. And so this is the property that says that you can change the association of any of your add-ins, right? So as long as it's all addition, right? Because this is a property for addition, or you could rewrite it as addition of negatives, but as long as it's all addition, we can change the association or the grouping symbols, mainly parentheses, right? That's what we typically use to group terms together. And so you will get, it's not necessarily the same problem, but you will get the same sum out of that. So in symbols, we can say for any numbers, I'm going to need more than 2. So we'll say for any numbers A, B, and C. If I were to add those numbers, so let's say I do A plus B plus C, let's say that I associate the A and B together. So put a parentheses around the A plus B. The associative property says that if I were to do that addition problem again, A plus B plus C, it's in the same order. I'm not doing the commutative property, right? Things are in the same order. But if I change the association, if I would do in parentheses first, right? We do what's in parentheses first. If I did B plus C first, I would get the same answer, right? I get the same sum or the same thing on both sides of this equation. So let's demonstrate that with a concrete example without A's, B's, and C's. So let's say 2, 3, and 4, right? So if I'm adding the numbers 2 plus 3 plus 4, one way I could do that is to add the 3 and 4 together first, right? So that means the association or the grouping is on the 3 and 4. So following my order of operations, doing what's in parentheses first, 3 plus 4 is 7. So this would get me 2 plus 7. On the converse of that, I could, instead of doing the 3 plus 4 first, I could do the 2 plus 3 first, right? So I'm not changing the order, right? I'm doing 2 plus 3 plus 4, but I could associate the 2 and 3, and so that would give me 5. And then I would bring down my plus 4 from there. So this is 2 different problems, but I'm going to get the same answer. 2 plus 7 is 9, and 5 plus 4 is 9. And that will work no matter what your numbers are, right? So if I don't change the order, but I just change the association, my parentheses, this will work for any numbers where I'll always get the same thing, even though we kind of arrived at it in a different way. So we can actually apply this to some strategies that we use for adding things mentally. So for example, this is to use the associative property of addition to make this problem easier to do in your head. We have 68 plus 19 plus 11, right? So like if I were to do that right now, technically, if I don't have any parentheses, we would do that left to right. So that means I would end up doing, even though there's not a parentheses there, I would end up doing the 68 plus the 19 first because that's the leftmost, right? And then I would add 11 to that. That's not easy to do in my head. Like 68 plus 19 in my head, that's not easy. If I changed that though, because I know it's the same, the associative property says, well, you could move that. You could put parentheses around the 19 and the 11, then that's a lot easier. So actually, 19 plus 11 is easier to do in my head because that's actually, I can use the making 10 strategy. So if I use grouping or the associative property combined with the making 10 strategy, and I can say, oh, it would be easier for me to do 19 plus 11 first. Using the making 10 strategy, I can move 1 from 11 over with the 19 and it becomes 20 plus 10, which is a lot easier to do in my head. So, I mean, I'm showing you some work, but we could easily do this in my head. So what's going on in my head is I'm saying, okay, let's do 19 plus 11 first. 19 plus 11 is the same thing as 20 plus 10. That's easy to do. That's 30. And then 68 plus 30 is 98. So that's a process that we could do entirely in our head using both the associative property and our making 10 strategy.